Hey guys, it's me, Freddy Pop Collector. Before we get the video started, I hope you liked my new intro. I spent about an hour redoing it last night. Not everything's different, I kept a few clips from the original in, but I thought it was time for a change. Tell me if you guys like this one better in the comments. Personally, I like it leagues better than the original. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. As we all know, Five Nights at Freddy's is a very mysterious, complex, and interesting franchise. Because so little of info is 100% confirmed, there's a lot of misconceptions in the FNAF community. Whether that be about the lore, the characters, or even some of the gameplay mechanics themselves. So today we're going to be bringing to light some of the misconceptions I think are the most popular in the FNAF community. Kicking things off, we have the misconception that Fredbear from Ultimate Custom Night is just a recolor of Golden Freddy. This actually isn't true. While yes, they do share the same body model, their head model is slightly different. Fredbear from Ultimate Custom Night has smaller ears and a smaller hat than FNAF 1 Freddy and FNAF 1 Golden Freddy. Granted, this change is small, but it's still something that I see getting overlooked all the time in the FNAF community. Another common misconception I've seen is that Withered Foxy must be flashed with the flashlight in the FNAF 2 hallway until he leaves. This actually isn't true, and it's something I still see people do to this day. You only need to flash Withered Foxy about 5 or 6 times with the flashlight, turn it off, and then he'll be gone in a few seconds. Next up is the misconception that the FNAF 4 Halloween DLC characters aren't canon to the main games. This is a misconception that used to be true, but was later on retconned in Ultimate Custom Night. Scott made an announcement that all the Halloween DLC characters besides Nightmare Balloon Boy weren't canon, but since they've appeared in games like Ultimate Custom Night and FNAF VR, we now know 100% that these characters are canon now. Going back to FNAF 2, we're now going to be talking about Mangle. As I'm sure most people know in the FNAF community, Mangle isn't Mangle's official name. It was a nickname given by the employees who worked at the FNAF 2 location. Many people would assume that the fixed version of Mangle would be called Toy Foxy because of the 3 toy animatronics and she is a part of that line, so it would make sense that he would be named Toy Foxy, but we actually get our confirmed answer in FNAF World. Here we find that the confirmed name of fixed Mangle is indeed Funtime Foxy. It really is crazy that there's still misconceptions about things revealed back in 2016. It just really goes to show how many misconceptions there are in the FNAF lore. Now we're going to be talking about a misconception from the FNAF book lore. A lot of people who haven't read the book seem to think that Twisted Chica does make an appearance in the Twisted Ones novel, and as we all know who have read the book, this is not true. While yes, it is true that she was in the concept art and she got some merch from Funko, she didn't actually appear in the book. A lot of people who didn't read the books, especially the younger fans, seem to think that she was for some reason, and I can't blame them. I thought she would have been in it too. This next misconception may just be the most popular as of now. That being that Psychic Friend Fredbear from FNAF 4 is just a hallucination slash ghost and isn't actually there. I think the main reason why people still believe that Psychic Friend Fredbear is just a hallucination is because it follows the crying child everywhere he goes. He even appears as a flower at one point. He also does some sort of It reference Easter egg. We know he's real because he shows up in the sister location's secret ending. He shows up in the private room in full 3D form. The only argument I've seen to this is that this night actually isn't canon, but just because the events themselves aren't canon doesn't mean that the stuff that appears in this office wasn't canon. Like, that's how we found out that FNAF 4 took place in 1983 in the first place. I can't really explain how he appears as a flower and stuff. Tell me in the comments if you guys can, but what I can tell you is that the plush does actually exist. This next misconception comes to us from FNAF 3. I'm sure by now most of you have heard of all of the Easter eggs from this game. That includes the Shadow Freddy Easter egg in the corner of the office. Yes, I did say Shadow Freddy and not Golden Freddy. For some reason, a lot of people tend to believe that this is Golden Freddy in the corner of the office, but this isn't true. If we go to the old trusty files, we can see that his name is indeed Shadow Freddy. Until doing research for this video, I actually thought that this was Golden Freddy. I even brought it up in my Frustrating Unanswered FNAF Questions series, but people in the comments were quick to answer my questions, and thank you guys so much. The final misconception we'll be going over in this video is that FNAF World isn't canon to the main series of games. To this day, I still see a few people on Reddit, on YouTube, trying to say that FNAF World isn't canon to the main timeline of games. This is 100% not true. 1, we see a texture file of the box in the files. 2, we see a bunch of FNAF 3 minigame Easter eggs. And 3, we have the connection between FNAF World and Ultimate Custom Night. Instead of sitting here and explaining it to you, I'll play a quick clip from Game Theory. I'll link the full episode in the description down below if you want to watch it.
And we hit start. Wouldn't you know it? Without playing a second of this game, look what suddenly appeared on our menu screen. A trophy that you unlock in FNAF World by visiting Old Man Consequence's Lake. In other words, these two games, but more importantly, in the lore of this franchise, these two worlds are connected.
The first misconception I want to bring up is the misconception that the Jack-o'-lantern Foxy from FNAF VR Help Wanted is named Jacko Foxy. This actually isn't true. I understand why people would think this. He looks very similar to the other two Jacko animatronics, and if you type in Jacko Foxy on Google, he shows up. His canon official name is Grim Foxy. I don't know why they didn't call him Jacko Foxy, probably because his hook looks kind of like one of those Grim Reaper scythe things. I swear, if I had a nickel for every time someone called Grim Foxy Jacko Foxy, I would have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird to happen twice, right? That's a Phineas and Ferb reference if you were wondering. Next up is the misconception that Fredbear from FNAF 4 did the bite of 87. Trust me when I say this, there's a lot of people out there that still believe that this right here is the bite of 87. Once again, referring back to my frustrating unanswered FNAF question series, I brought up that we never really do get a confirmation on who did the bite of 87. You would not believe how many comments I got on that video saying, we see the bite of 87 in FNAF 4, Fredbear did the bite of 87, Fredbear, FNAF 4, Fredbear. Guys, the bite of 87 happened in FNAF 2. It wasn't Fredbear. It was most likely Mangle or one of the toy animatronics. Moving on.
Was that the bite of 87?
The next misconception we're going to be talking about actually isn't from the games or lore or characters, but actually from merch. I'm sure all, or at least most of you watching, have heard of Funko and their line of plushies of the FNAF characters. The one we're going to be talking about today is Mangle, a Walmart exclusive plush released in Wave 2 back in 2016. Yes, I did say Mangle and not Nightmare Mangle. For some reason, a lot of people tend to believe this is Nightmare Mangle. We know it's just the regular Mangle. 1, because there's no withering on the body. 2, she doesn't have the same teeth as the other nightmares, and 3, because the sticker confirming it's a Walmart exclusive says Mangle and not Nightmare Mangle. You could say this was just a translation error, but if you go to Nightmare Bonnie's exclusive sticker, it says Nightmare Bonnie and not just Bonnie, so this is 100% intended to be regular Mangle. The next FNAF misconception I want to talk about is one from FNAF 3, that being my personal favorite Phantom animatronic, how original, Phantom Freddy. As we all know in FNAF 3, none of the Phantom animatronics are new models, 5 of them came from FNAF 2 and 1 of them came from FNAF 1. A lot more people know this nowadays than they used to back then, but Phantom Freddy actually doesn't have 2 full legs. His right leg is partially cut off at the knee joint. The reason why a lot of people don't know this is in FNAF 3 you can't see it because the window cuts it off, and in Ultimate Custom Night you can't see it because the desk cuts it off. But if you look at things like the FNAF 3 files and the McFarlane Toys figure, you can see that he is indeed missing part of his right leg. Another common misconception I've seen is that Springtrap talks in FNAF 3. This actually isn't true. Many of you are going to say that Springtrap actually says help me, and yes, it does sound like that. But actually, all of Springtrap's grunts in this game are just alpaca noises slowed down with echo and lower pitch. I can't take credit for that. I have no idea who figured that out, but whoever did, props to you. I would never have thought of that. Next up is sort of a smaller misconception, but it's one that I find that's pretty interesting. A lot of people, especially my close friends, seem to think that all 3 Freddo models from FNAF 4 are the exact same model. Scott made sure that all 3 Freddo models were unique, and I think that that's pretty cool. Again, a smaller one, but still one that I thought was pretty interesting. And the final misconception we'll be going over in this video is that the crying child is named Chris. Listen, I have no idea where this came from, but here recently I've been seeing the crying child being called Chris everywhere. On YouTube videos, on comment sections, on Reddit, on Amino, I see these everywhere. Again, I don't know if you guys have seen it or heard of it at all, but I've definitely noticed a lot of people calling him Chris lately. Again, I have no idea where this started. Tell me in the comments if you guys know what all this is about. FNAF misconceptions have been around ever since the franchise was created, whether that be about the lore, characters, gameplay, or even some of the merch. Today we're going to be exposing some of those FNAF misconceptions, but joining me today is actually another fellow FNAF YouTuber in the FNAF community, Maso777.
What is up, Freddy Pop Collector, and what is up, all of Freddy Pop Collector's viewers? If you don't know who I am Maso777. I also make FNAF videos. I mostly do FNAF merch concepts, and I also make FNAF reviews. I also do some other stuff on my channel too. If you want to check me out, I'm sure Freddy Pop Collector has a link to my channel in the description. Hope you all enjoy the video, and I hope I don't suck.
Me and Maso have also done a collab over on his channel covering the FNAF 3 NECA concepts. Go check that out, I'll leave a link in the description. But with all that out of the way, let's discuss even more common Five Nights at Freddy's misconceptions. The first misconception I want to bring up is the misconception that Scott had the entire franchise and story planned out from the beginning. This was actually debunked by Scott Cawthon himself in the Doco interview way back in 2018.
Like I did not have the entire story planned out.
I don't know why, but for some reason a lot of people to this day still believe that he did for some reason. This is very similar to that whole Bite of 83 versus Bite of 87 debate in FNAF 4. Because it's been rumored and spread around for so long, some people have just chosen to believe it, but as you just heard from Scott Cawthon himself, he didn't.
So the first misconception is that Dark Springtrap is based on Dave. This is not true. Dave is the main antagonist throughout the main FNAF books, the Silver Eyes, Twisted Ones, and Fourth Closet. But people think that Dark Springtrap from the Twisted Ones merch line is based on him, and this is not true. A Funko employee stated that Dark Springtrap is supposed to be Springtrap from the last sister location Fazbear Fright cutscene, when Fazbear Fright was all burned and stuff, and then Springtrap came out.
Next up is probably the most recent misconception to be put on this list, that being the misconception that Funko lost their Five Nights at Freddy's license. For the 2% of people out there who don't know this, Funko actually leaked the designs of the Security Breach characters, and Scott wasn't too happy about it. When Scott responded on Reddit, a lot of people thought that Funko was going to lose their license, and I honestly did for a little bit as well. All the talk you've seen about Funko losing their license on YouTube videos, on Reddit, memes, it's all been just speculation. Nothing's been confirmed by Scott directly. And since we're getting teasers for future plushies like Security Puppet and Freddy Frostbear, it's pretty safe to assume that they won't be losing their license anytime soon.
And the next misconception is that Freddy, Frostbear, and 8-Bit Baby are skins. This is not true. A lot of people think Freddy Frostbear is a skin because he's a remodel of Freddy with a few modifications, but no, he is actually his own character. He has his own slot, he has his own CPU, and he also freezes the screen, which is different from normal Freddy. He also has his own unique animations. Same with 8-Bit Baby. 8-Bit Baby does reuse Baby's voice lines and some of her mechanics, but she does have her own character slot and CPU.
And the final misconception we'll be going over in this video is that the puppet is female. While yes, a female spirit does possess the puppet, Elizabeth, Henry's daughter, the puppet animatronic itself is actually a boy. This is confirmed to us in the Freddy files. Under Puppet's inventory, it says that the puppet is male, but how can that be if a female possesses the puppet? Well, the only other case here is that the puppet itself is male. The first misconception we're going to be talking about is a pretty weird one, that being the misconception that the cupcake from FNAF is named Carl. To my knowledge, I could be wrong, but Scott nor the game files of any FNAF game have ever referred to the cupcake as Carl. My next step was to turn to the Freddy files, but again, they just call the cupcake the cupcake. So after doing some more digging, I did find the official name of the FNAF cupcake. It actually comes from the Funko Chica action figure. On the label, it says Chica with Mr. Cupcake, so Mr. Cupcake is the official name of the FNAF cupcake, not Carl. It's similar to the whole Chris Afton thing from FNAF 4. If you call him Chris or Carl, that's fine, it's just not the official name. Next up is the misconception that Mangle is Funtime Foxy and Funtime Foxy is Mangle. Alright, as we covered in the first episode of this series, Mangle's official name is Funtime Foxy, as we see in FNAF World. However, this does not mean that Mangle is Funtime Foxy from Sister Location. It just means that they have the exact same name. As confusing as that is, it's the truth. How we know Mangle and Funtime Foxy are different beings is, one, Mangle is not Funtime Foxy because Funtime Foxy's security tag is still active in Molten Freddy long after the toy animatronics have been scrapped. They also have entirely different voices in Ultimate Custom Night, and they also have entirely different designed endoskeletons and bodies. While this misconception technically hasn't been disproven, there's no evidence or lore indicating that this is true, and something that I see people jumping to conclusions on all the time. Next up is the misconception that Five Nights at Freddy's AR Special Delivery isn't canon to the main timeline of games. A lot of people like to consider this game non-canon to the main timeline, very similar to Sister Location when it was first released. And honestly, people who think that, I can't blame them. We've got characters like Jacko Chica, Jacko Bonnie, and the thousands and thousands of skins. However, we do know this game is canon based on the emails that we get in our inbox. These emails talk about a character named Ness, short for Vanessa from Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. While I do think some things like the store, obviously, and maybe the Jacko animatronics aren't canon, I do think that there is a delivery service run by Fazbear Entertainment in the FNAF lore. It's a part of the whole rebranding thing that they started in FNAF VR Help Wanted, leading into Security Breach. And hey, this is just a little bit of a theory, but maybe it'll be revealed in Security Breach that the animatronics are being sent out from the Security Breach mall. Just saying, Vanessa's in Security Breach, she works at Fazbear Entertainment. it's just an idea. And the final misconception we'll be going over is the misconception that Scrap Baby is made of random scrap. Saying that out loud, it doesn't make much sense, so let me elaborate a little. After Circus Baby was rejected from Entered and voted out of the tribe, it's clear that she went back to Sister Location to try to find some old pieces of her old body. While the roller skates, the realistic hair, and some of the other design choices are pretty hard to explain, two things we can explain are these two things here. This claw thing, confirmed in the Freddy files, is actually Baby Scooper claw thing she used to scoop up Elizabeth. And these two light fixture pieces are actually seen in the circus gallery from Sister Location. A lot of people think the designs in FNAF 6 are just random and unintentional, but it's clear that Scott actually put work into these designs, and they're supposed to have some sort of lore significance. But with that being said, that's gonna wrap out the final part of common Five Nights at Freddy's misconceptions.